guys, so today's video is going to be a Romantasy reading vlog where this is the first vlog that I'm filming in November, so welcome to another reading vlog. And I am going to be talking about all of the Romantasy books that I am planning to read in the month of November. There are quite a few new releases that I'm really excited for, and there's also a couple that are on my TBR for this month that I'm super excited for as well. Ones that I've been wanting to get to for quite a while. So we have a pretty stacked Romantasy TBR. And I'm just gonna go through the books really quick because mostly all of them are on Kindle. I actually only own one of them physically. But there are quite a few Romantasy releases that have just blown up over the past couple of months, and there's also a couple of new ones. So let me talk about the first one that I'm reading, and I'm currently reading this right now because this one just came out October 29th, and I think I started it that day, or I might have just started it on the 30th. So obviously I'm talking about Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. You guys know that Throne of the Fallen was one of my favorite books of the entire year this year because I know it came out last year, but I didn't read it until this year because I read the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy first. So I was super excited for this to come out. I'm pretty much halfway through at this point. I'm on page like 240. And you guys will see my thoughts at the end of this once I finish this book. Then I do want to talk about this book really quick before I talk about the other new release that I'm going to be reading this month as well. So this one is like a super short, quick, easy read, but I do want to read this before the next Romantasy release by this author comes out later this month, and that is Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is just a little novella in the Crowns of Nexia world, and I never ended up reading this when I did read Serpents of the Wings of Night and Ashes of the Star-Cursed King, so I did read those back in like June. I wanted to make sure that I read those before the next book came out, but I ended up not reading this. I didn't know if it was essential or not to read it before the next book comes out in Crowns of Nexia, but I am definitely 100% reading this one. And it's only like 200 pages, or like not even 200 pages, so that should only take me like a day to finish. And I'm actually planning to read that probably this weekend. And then probably most of these books that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be reading over the course of next week. But I just wanted to mention Carissa Broadbent's release. This one is a Crowns of Nexia novel, and this one comes out on November 19th. So we are going to be reading The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. We're definitely 100% reading this one as well. I literally cannot wait till this book comes out. I'm probably going to be reading, well, I'm definitely going to be reading Sky Shade by Alex Astor before this book comes out. And then I'm going to try and read at least 2 more Romantasy books in this vlog before this one comes out. And I'm about to mention those to you guys, but this one I am definitely reading in this vlog as well. And then the other 2, well, actually there's 3. There's quite a lot of Romantasy books that are going to be in this vlog. Like I said, I have quite a lot that I wanted to get to this month. The next one is going to be Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This one is also a first book in a series, but also this book has blown up this year, and I've been dying to get to this for months. I just, for some reason, kept on putting it off. I actually did start this book. I think I only got like 20 pages into it. But I think that November is a better time to read this. So we are definitely reading this one because, again, this one is so hyped right now. And I feel like I'm missing out. So I'm definitely going to be reading that one. And then the other one, most of these are like also on my prompts for my November TBR. So that's why I wanted to concentrate on these the most as well, but also again I just really want to read these before the year is over. So the other one that is super hyped right now is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider, so I'm going to be reading this one as well. These are, again, all Kindle reads. So this one is book 1 in the Fire and Metal series, and this book has been blowing up recently too, so I'm really excited to read this one too. And then the last one that is also on my Kindle, because all of these that I'm mentioning, they're all on Kindle Unlimited, which is freaking awesome. The other one that I really want to get to in this vlog is Bloodguard by CC Robson. This one actually is the newest release besides the other one that I'm going to talk about and the only physical one that I have. But this one just came out actually in the beginning of last month. And I really did want to read this last month, but I just didn't have any time to read it. But I am hoping to get to it this month. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a full week of Romantasy next week. I probably will, but it's probably going to be Quicksilver, Metal Slinger, and then the next Crowns of Nexia, depending on where I'm at. Because I'd rather read the other book that I have and then probably read this one after Crowns of Nexia. And then the rest of the month is probably just going to be for the 2 trilogies that I really want to read this month as well. So we're going to try and read that one as well. And then the last one on this list is The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. This is the only physical book that I own because I did get this as my book of the month last month, and I've been really wanting to read this one as well. Also, Emmy Rosham, why can't I say her name right now? She really has been hyping me up about these books because she is like pretty much one of the first YouTubers to talk about Metal Slinger, and then she was really credited to be blowing up that book on TikTok, and now it's become like so popular. So I really wanted to read it because she constantly raves about that book. And then she also read this one very recently, and she said she really enjoyed this too. So those are going to be the Romantasy books that we read in this video. I am extremely excited for them. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm pretty sure that's, 7 books in this video. That's usually what I get to, or like at least, I think the last 2 reading vlogs, I read 8 in the first one in October, and then I read 7 in my Halloween TBR video. So now I'm going to be reading another 7, and this is just going to be like throughout the month. Like I won't necessarily be reading these the first 2 weeks of the month. This vlog probably won't go up until like maybe like almost the last week of November, depending on when I finish these books, or maybe like the week before November is over. But after I finish Throne of Secrets, there are a couple of books on my physical TBR that I would like to read this week. I don't think I'm going to be reading much more on my Kindle this week, but I probably will be reading, like I said, 6 Scorched Roses this weekend, and then I'm probably just going to read Skyshade after that. I'm probably going to squeeze in one more physical book before Skyshade, and then after Skyshade, it's just going to be devoted to Quicksilver, Metal Slinger, and either Bloodguard or the Dagger and the Flame, but I want to read both of those after that. And then after that, well, it depends on when because Songbird and the Heart of Stone is going to be on Kindle Unlimited, so I can read that right away as soon as it comes out. So I don't have to wait to go to the bookstore to read it. I can just read it on my Kindle. So depending on when we finish Songbird and the Heart of Stone, maybe the last one I read is going to be The Dagger and the Flame, because I still would have to read Bloodguard as well. And then by the time I read all of those, that should be it as far as Romantasy goes. And I'm probably just going to read a trilogy or something. I'm not really sure yet, depending on what we can fit into this vlog. But those are all the books that are really high priority for me. So I think I'm going to be reading these books no matter what. I don't think we're not going to not get to any of these because, again, Quicksilver and Metal Slinger have been on my list for forever. So I'm going to stop rambling, and I will check in when I finish Throne of Secrets. I should be able to finish it by tomorrow night. So bye for now. Okay, so hey there, guys. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I did finish the first book in this video. I don't know why this is so awkward to hold like this. the first romantasy that I read in this video was Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. Maniscalco, yeah. And I have to say I was pretty underwhelmed by this. And before I go into why, I'm just going to say that I think I'm just going to rate this book a 4 stars. Like, I still really enjoyed it. I still love Carrie Maniscalco's writing. But compared to Throne of the Fallen, that book is like a 6-star read for me. That's like one of my favorite romantasy reads of all time. And I kind of compare like every single romantasy read that I read this year because I also loved Fourth Wing so much. But also, like, again, I haven't really read that much romantasy besides like ACOTAR, Kingdom of the Wicked, which is like part of this world. And I haven't really read that much more romantasy. Like, the other fantasy books I've read have been more fantasy with like a subplot of romance, but not really truly romantasy, because like romantasy is a little bit more than just like kissing. You know, it's a lot more of like a romance plot. But I don't know, just I think people felt like it was a little bit, I'm going to put this down because I don't feel like holding it anymore. But I think a lot of people were like surprised as to why she was doing gluttony next. Like, I was excited for it, but I felt like, I mean, I just felt like there wasn't enough that we got from Gluttony's character, like behind the scenes. Like, I know that there was some like secretive things going on, but honestly, I didn't feel like as much for Gluttony and Adriana as characters as I did for Envy and Camilla in Throne of the Fallen, because like I feel like in Throne of the Fallen there were so many layers to not just the story but to Envy and Camilla as characters that we would constantly uncover throughout the entire book, of like who Camilla really is and what she is. And like the same thing with Envy. Like, I just felt like I felt like Adriana and Gluttony were much more one-dimensional. And also, like, again, I found myself like not really caring as much. And also I felt like it took forever just to get to certain points in the book where we were like 200 pages in and she was just going to like Gluttony's house. But like in Throne of the Fallen, I felt like we got thrown right in there. And also, like, I felt like that she didn't really like explain like the levels of hell again, and they weren't really like, I don't know, I felt like with this book I was reading a lot more of like a fairy tale with smut in it. Because this book felt a lot like a Cinderella retelling, because like Adriana had like an evil stepmother and she had stepsisters, but like her stepsisters cared about her more than her actual stepmother. And also he kept on making like comparisons about like being her Prince Charming, and I'm like, okay, can we make the Cinderella retelling like any more obvious? Which it was like, it was cute and I liked like the references and there were still really good lines in it. And again, I enjoy her writing so much, but it's also like underwhelming to me when like an author that I already truly love and I already like think that her books progress so much every time she writes a new book. And I just thought, like, you know, that it would continue on that path, but also like sometimes just like the second book in a series can sometimes have like severe like second book syndrome where it's just like not as good as the first one. Because like, but again, the first one was just like, again, I think about that book every single day. I love that book so much. But also the fact that this book was over 100 pages shorter than the first one made me a little bit nervous about whether or not it was going to be as good, because like I saw this on Booked in Busy's channel, and she said this about like about Powerless and Reckless, and she's not a Powerless fan, she doesn't like it, But also she read both of them, and she had said like before she read Reckless that she was like, why is Reckless like over 100 I think it was almost 150 pages shorter than Powerless, or maybe it was like in like the 375 range, when like Powerless was like over a little bit over 500 pages. She was like, it makes me nervous when like follow-up fantasy books are shorter because you don't know if it's going to have as much of a plot. And I definitely felt the same way about this one. Um that like it like didn't really progress the plot as much, but I also think that she gave a hint. There were some really good moments in this book. Let's not get it twisted. Again, I still love her writing. I loved the Envy and Camilla cameos. I loved the Amelia and Wrath cameos. Like, I was dying for those because I love Kingdom of the Wicked and I love Throne of the Fallen. But I also think that she hinted at who the next prince is going to be. I'm not gonna say it until you read the book, or if you're planning to read it. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited. And also I think another major thing was also confirmed in this book about Amelia in Kingdom of the Wicked. And if you've read Kingdom of the Wicked, um again, if you want me to do, I might do like a spoiler version, or like maybe do a spoiler clip after this just to say like, hey, if you don't want to watch this and just like skip ahead. But there might have been like a huge thing about Amelia that was confirmed in this book about her and Kingdom of the Wicked and Wrath's like oath for each other. There might have been like a lot more to it that we didn't know because we wouldn't have even found out until now anyway. So I thought that was a little bit mind-blowing. But also, like, again, it took like over 200 pages just for her to be at House Gluttony, and they still hadn't like really made love yet, and blah blah blah, bleep blah bloop. And then I just felt like, Gluttony was having like a competition to find himself a bride. But also, like, I felt like that was like the main like event of the story, and also it had dragons in it, which I love books with any types of dragons, and the dragons like were basically they weren't sure like who was behind like the dragons like attacking other people, other like demons and stuff like that, and they have dragons in hell and stuff, and it was pretty cool. But also like the whole competition thing with him finding a suitor to marry because he needed to find a bride, I felt like it was very rushed. And honestly, we didn't really concentrate on like the events of the competition. Like they never really like she never really like relayed the events of what was happening in the competition until like maybe like 150 pages left of the book. And I'm like, that took way too long to get to. And also like I don't mind the smut. I don't mind the that it was a lot of smut because it was, but I also feel like she didn't concentrate enough on the sin of gluttony, and people were saying that yes, gluttonous people of course indulge in sex and smut and everything, like because that's they overindulge on literally everything. But I also didn't feel that um with Prince Gluttony. Like we never really had scenes of him like in his chamber like craving Adriana like we did with Envy. Like we just felt like that super powerful connection between the two of them. But also like I just didn't get like any feeling of like overindulgence from Gluttony, and like those scenes that would have made it a little bit more interesting. But also Adriana like wasn't interesting enough of a character as much as Camilla was in Throne of the Fallen. So I don't know. I had my gripes with it, but at the same time, like I still love her writing and I don't regret reading it. I still really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it as much as Throne of the Fallen. So unfortunately, it was kind of underwhelming for me for being like one of my most anticipated reads of the entire year, but it was still better than Reckless. So I will check in with you guys after I finish the next book. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Six Scorched Roses, But I will let you guys know if I decide to read that closer to when Songbird and the Heart of Stone comes out. I might just read Metal Slinger next. So I will let you guys know. But I probably will check in with you guys on when I will check in with you guys when I start that book. But I'm definitely going to be starting that book next week no matter what, regardless if I read Six Scorched Roses or not. Metal Slinger is still going to be the next one in this vlog. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey there guys. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I did finish the second book for this video. I wasn't sure which one I was going to read next, but then I figured that this was going to be the only book that I was going to have time for this Romantasy video this past week. So the second one that I did finish is Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, which is the novella in the Crowns of Nexia series in between Serpents of the Wings of Night and Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. But honestly, you could read this as a standalone. Sorry, this light is just, I don't know why this light is always so freaking bright all the time. I don't know. Like, I think it's just because, like, I wasn't really able to, this is definitely 2. Now that's, yeah, that's better. I just, it was okay. Like, maybe because I wasn't really able to pay as much attention to this book. Maybe I wasn't really focused on reading it this weekend, because I was going upstate, but I just thought it was okay. I wasn't, like, really obsessed with it. I thought it was good, but, you know, and enjoyable. It was just an easy, fast, quick read, and it was only 185 pages. So basically, I'll just read the synopsis because I really feel like if I don't read the synopsis, I'm not really going to tell you or be sure, like, what it's about because, like, honestly, I didn't really get to pay as much attention to it as I would have liked to because I did read it in the car going up to upstate and then back in the car, but I also read like 50 pages there, but then I also read 50 pages last night to finish it. And maybe I only got the last 50 pages, but honestly, it like I kind of was a little bit underwhelmed by it because everybody talks about like how amazing this novella is, and I really, like I said, I do want to get into more novellas. And I'm glad that I was able to read like 2 novellas over the past 2 months. So anyway, this one says 6 roses, 6 vials of blood, 6 visits to a vampire who could be her salvation or her damnation. Lilith has been dying since the day she was born, but while she long ago came to terms with her own imminent death, so she's basically destined to die. The deaths of everyone she loves is an entirely different matter. As her town slowly withers in the clutches of a mysterious God-cursed illness, she takes matters into her own hands. Desperate to find a cure, Lilith strikes a bargain with the only thing the gods hate even more than her village, a vampire, Vale. Why do I feel like Vale was mentioned in Serpents of the Wings of Night? See, this is why I wanted to do a re-listen to Serpents of the Wings of Night and Ashes of the Star-Cursed King to get ready for the next book that's coming out, but I didn't end up having time to re-listen to any of these. I am actually re-listening to Lightlark currently so I can get ready for Skyshade. That literally comes out tomorrow. But I'm just going to continue re-listening to it. And then maybe I'll just re-listen to Serpents of the Wings of Night after Nightshade. Or Nightbane, I mean. Or after I finish Skyshade, I mean. So we'll see. And then it says, she offers him 6 roses in exchange for 6 vials of vampire blood, the one hope for her town's salvation. But when what begins as a simple transaction gradually becomes something more, Lilith is faced with a terrifying realization. It's dangerous to wander into the clutches of a vampire, and in a place already suffering a god's wrath, more dangerous still to fall in love with one. Hold on. So that's basically what the book was about. Like, honestly, I felt like it was a little bit too short in order to like develop like these characters a little bit more. I mean, I do think it did a good job of, you know, she's still a great writer and portraying the story in a short amount of time, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I really cared that much. So I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So far, the 2 books that I've read in this video so far haven't really been that great. But honestly, after Throne of Secrets was a disappointment, and this book, I really do feel like the next 4 books that I'm going to read for this video, like Quicksilver, Metal Slinger, Bloodguard, and Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and the Dagger and the Flame, I think I'm going to love all of them, and I'm going to be obsessed with at least a couple of them. I am so excited to read Metal Slinger, so I think Metal Slinger is going to be the next book that I read for this video. And then I'm going to go into the Songbird and the Heart of Stone. And then I'll probably just read Quicksilver and then Bloodguard after that. And then the Dagger and the Flame. And then that'll finally be done with all the Romantasy books. So, yeah, I'm really excited. But I was a little bit underwhelmed by this as well. Because a lot of people like talk about that it's like their favorite novella. And they're obsessed with it and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I didn't really care. So I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but I don't think just because I kind of felt myself zoning out when I was reading this. I don't know if it was just because I was not home or whatever, but I just found myself not really wanting to read it. But like when I went to read The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery, I found that very readable and very easy to finish, and I finished it earlier today, so I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it, but regardless, I don't think much happened in this, and also I felt like it was very repetitive of Serpents of the Wings of Night and The Ashes of the Starker's King, but those books are better, so like I said, I just wanted to read it in preparation of the new book coming out, and I knew I was going to read it this month because of that, so it's been sitting on my Kindle for a while, and I was like, I really want to read it. So yeah, I'm just really excited to jump to the other book, so I will update you guys once I start Metal Slinger, and I'm really super excited to read it. So yeah, that's it. Bye! Okay, so hey there guys, so I'm just filming a super short clip right now because this video is already ridiculously long, but I just wanted to add 1 book to this TBR that I didn't add before, and that is Skyshade from Alex Astor, which is the 3rd book in the Lightlark series, so now I'm going to start reading that book. Okay, so hey there guys, I just wanted to let you guys know that I did finish the 3rd book for this video, and that is Skyshade by Alex Astor. I literally just finished it right now. This was so good, you guys. This was definitely my favorite book that I've read in this video so far. I gave this the same rating that I gave the first 2 books, and that is a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There is just something about them that I'm not like completely obsessed with, but I enjoy this series so much, and I like it way more than people say that, you know, that they hate this series. And honestly, I think people just hate this series just to say that that's like the cool thing. But if you don't like it, then don't like make other people feel bad for enjoying it. That's what bothers me. You're entitled to not like something, but as soon as like somebody like tries to say, oh, that book is trash, why do you like it? That's when I have a problem. It's like I said, let people like what they like. So anyway, I'm not going to say too much about this because it is a 3rd book in the series, but that ending though was definitely kind of a cliffhanger, but I think I'm going to be able to wait for it. Like, I think the biggest cliffhanger that I knew that I could not wait for was 4th Wing. And I jumped into, I literally knew that like the fourth wing cliffhanger was like jaw dropping, and so many people were like, oh, so mad that they had to wait for the second book. But for this, I think I can wait for it. But I just wish that Alex Astor would like commit and say that it's going to be like a 4-book series, because even when I saw Emmy Rossham's video about this one, she said that there's no way that this can't have another book. And I definitely agree with that. And also, like I said, this was actually the shortest book out of all of them. But I do think it left, I wish there was maybe another like 2-page epilogue about Isla and what happened at the end with her. But other than that, I think it was really, really good. I do feel like it was a bit rushed though, but in like a good way, because like so many things were happening. But also I feel like this one, it was a lot easier to understand, and like I said, a lot of things moved along a lot faster than I felt like in the first 2 books, because this one I was able to just read so quickly and binge it so quickly. But also, like, I am still going to re-listen to Lightlark and Nightbane. I was trying to do that before this came out. I'm still on Lightlark though. I'm still listening to it. So, but I'm like halfway through it, and I'm still going to continue listening to it and Nightbane just so I can completely refresh my memory. So then I'll be ready for like whenever the 4th book is coming out, which nobody knows because it hasn't even been announced yet. But I just thought this was so good. And this honestly kind of got me out of a reading slump, because I was feeling really reading slumpish after I had finished The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery, because like I still finished the book because it was super short. But honestly, like I said, the last like 3 reads I read, I just wasn't really that excited about reading. And also like with the election results, like I just really wanted something that I could escape in, and this was definitely it. So I guess this was just right book at the right time. But also like I just didn't, like I said, I didn't want to jump into a new first book in a series. I just wanted to go back into a world that I was already familiar with, and that I didn't even have to like think about like what the setup is with the magic system and the world building and all of that. I already knew. Even though like people are upset that like this has a lack of world building, I still really enjoy the story and the characters. That I was screaming, giggling, kicking my feet at some of the things that Grimm was saying to Isla. I almost wanted more banter from them in this. But I still think that this was very well paced. There was like no lulls. Everything moved along very quickly, and that's why I really enjoyed this. And I think that's why this got me to binge a book again, because honestly, I didn't even feel like binging books. I felt like kind of reading was a chore the past couple of weeks, because again, I wasn't really enjoying what I was reading. Even when I picked up my Kindle a couple days ago to start Metal Slinger, I didn't even feel like reading that. I felt like it was literally a chore to read it. And then I finished Thursday Murder Club, and that was my favorite book that I read this month. And then this, and now I'm like super excited to read again. So I'm just so excited that I decided to read this at this time. And then I think the next book but I really liked it, but I don't want to give anything else away, because again, it is a 3rd book in a series. But the love triangle is still triangling with Grimm and Oro. I will say that it is getting a little bit frustrating that Isla still hasn't even made a decision about like who she really wants to be with. But I do kind of like that you're so intrigued to find out who she chooses, that she's still kept up this love triangle throughout the whole 3 books. And now I'm like it's still like not certain even in this book. So take that for what you will. That's not really a spoiler. But basically, like, this takes place right after Nightbane. Like, it picks up right after where Nightbane leaves off. And I just had a great time with it. My jaw was on the floor a couple of times. I was giggling. Like I said, I was screaming internally at some things that Grimm says to Isla. I just needed that, like, banter and that fun, adventurous kind of book for me to enjoy reading again, because like, again, after the election, like I felt pretty reading slumpish. It's like, what am I gonna read to like escape from reality right now? So it was great. Like I said, this was definitely my favorite book that I read in this video so far. I really enjoyed it. And I don't care if you don't like this series, argue with a wall. I'm allowed to like what I like, and I'm allowed to read what I enjoy. I'm going to read whatever the fuck I want. So it doesn't, your opinion does not, you can say whatever you want, but I'm not going to listen. So you can go ahead and say it in the comments, but it doesn't matter to me. So, the next book that I'm going to be reading in this video is definitely going to be The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. I think I'm going to read 2 books in between, another Romantasy book, and then I'm going to read just basically straight Romantasy for the next week, because I'm going to be in such a Romantasy mood. So I'm going to read Under the Whispering Door and The Kiss Curse before The Songbird and the Heart of Stone comes out. I should have enough time to finish both of those books. And then I'm going to, like I said, read that. And then read Metal Slinger, and then Quicksilver, and then the Dagger, Blood Guard, and then The Dagger and the Flame. So that's still like 5 more Romantasy reads in this video. So I really would like to get all of those done before November is over. And that, if that's literally all I have time for, that is not a huge deal. I've been wanting to get to those books for so long. And then, like I said, the 2 other books I'm going to read in between. But I keep on forgetting about Dagger and the Flame before like the month is over. But I think it's better if I read Dagger and the Flame during Thanksgiving, because like during Thanksgiving, I'm not going to have like that much time to read. So I would like to get Metal Slinger, Quicksilver, and Blood Guard all done before Thanksgiving. And then I'll start Dagger in the Flame probably that Monday and hopefully finish it by Wednesday. But if I don't finish The Songbird and the Heart of Stone until like Thursday, then that only gives me until Thanksgiving to finish all of those Romantasy reads. And that's like Metal Slinger, Quicksilver, Blood Guard, and Dagger in the Flame, which should be doable because that gives me a week to finish all of them. And that's a full Romantasy week, but we will see. Also, I ended up mostly listening to the first 2 books in the Crown of Nexia series, so I don't know if I'm just going to end up listening to the 3rd one, but I don't have another Audible credit because I used it for Throne of Secrets earlier this month, so I could tandem read, reading it on Kindle and listen to it at the same time. Because I really enjoy the voices for Throne of the Fallen. They were the same voices for Throne of Secrets, and it was great. And honestly, that was the only way I could get through that book, honestly, was listening to some of it too, because that book wasn't that great. So I'm going to go, and I will check in with you guys after I've read The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, but that's definitely the next book that I'm going to be reading for this video. So bye! Okay, so now I'm filming another super short clip because I didn't end up reading The Songbird and the Heart of Stone next. Don't listen to me, because I don't know why I would literally say that, because my mood changes all the time on which one I want to read next. So the next one that I read was Metal Slinger, because I still had, I think, 2 or 3 days before Songbird and the Heart of Stone was out. So I was like, I might as well read another one that's only going to take me like 2 days to read. So I ended up picking Metal Slinger. So that is the next book we are reading. Okay, so hey there guys, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I did finish the 4th book for this video, and that is Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I'm pretty low energy right now because I just worked probably the longest shift that I've worked in a really, really, really long time. I worked like a full manager shift because I was actually covering a manager's shift today. So I ended up working 9 hours. So I'm pretty tired. But I did actually finish this on my break at work. And I think I have the same feelings about this book as I did when I started it. I didn't really love it. It was good, But honestly, I felt myself being a little bit bored. I felt like it took a while to get to certain parts of it. I did enjoy this a little more than Throne of Secrets, but without the smut. Like, it literally took so long to build up these two characters, and I understand like a slow burn and stuff, but it was just getting really frustrating because it's like there wasn't really anything that was really, I mean, there was like a betrothal happening and stuff like that. Um, but there wasn't really anything that was preventing them from being together because they knew they were going to be together anyway because they were each other's matches, which is basically like if you've read ACOTAR and you know which characters are like imprinted in ACOTAR, it's kind of like what they say in this is that they're each other's match. So I felt like this was kind of a combination of Throne of Glass and Powerless. It felt like it was very YA written, but I feel like the game's God's Play was a better, more fun, action-packed YA romantasy compared to this one. So I felt like the writing was a little bit YA sounding. But I gave this a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I thought I was gonna give it at least a 4, but I just haven't really loved all the books that I've read in this video. Like I've said, my favorite book that I've read so far in this video was Sky Shade. So maybe I am just not impressed with like these first books in series that I've been reading for this video, but also Throne of Secrets was the second book in a series, and Six Scorched Roses was a novella in between the first and second Serpents of the Wings of Night. So I am familiar with both of those worlds. But I, again, thought this was good. I am going to continue the series. I do think that this has a lot of potential for me to actually really like the series a lot more once the second book comes out. We don't know when that is because this book just came out in April. I think it's not traditionally published yet because it doesn't even have an audiobook. But it is free on Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't have to at least, buy the book in order to read it because I wouldn't have kept this book if I read it physically. But I'm glad that I read it. It was very fast-paced, but at the same time, there were some parts that lulled. But I finished this in less than 2 days. I started it a couple of days back, but when I actually, made it the next book that I focused on to read, I started it Sunday night, and I had already gotten through like 150 pages on Sunday night. And then yesterday, I read close to 200 pages of it. And then today, I just finished the last like 100 pages. Like, I thought I was going to be able to finish it last night, but I had like 2 hours left in the book, and I was like, I'll get it down to like an hour. And I started falling asleep already. So I think I got up to page like 370 last night, and I just banged out the last 100 pages at work. So I've already read 100 pages today. So it was okay. I think this is kind of overhyped. I don't think it's the best romantasy book since Fourth Wing or anything like that. I am kind of holding out more hope for Quicksilver. I feel like I might like that more. I don't know. But anyway, it was good. It wasn't great, but it was entertaining. It had its moments, but there were too many parts where I was like, there was kind of like a little bit of filler. So I'm going to return this, and then I'm just going to let you guys know which book I'm reading now. I already started this because this book came out today, and I was going to tell you guys that this was the next book I was going to read anyway. So let me just go back to the beginning, the cover, if I could pull it up. So this book just came out today, and that is The Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. And I actually redeemed an Audible credit to start listening to this morning because I knew I was not going to have time to start reading it physically because, like I said, I wanted to finish Metal Slinger, but also I had to wake up at like 9 this morning, so I was not going to have time to start this book. So I got the audiobook and I started it there, but also I'm going to be following along in my Kindle, and I'm already loving this. I think that this is so good already. I have a really good feeling about this one, and I think I'm going to potentially love this even more than Servants of the Wings of Night. I'm only on page 57, but I just think Carissa Broadbent just gets better and better and better with each book she writes, like kind of similar to Carrie Maniscalco. But I feel like she's going to have even more consistency because Servants of the Wings of Night is so hyped. And I do think they are worth the hype. So I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. I'm already so interested in the main character. She's so intriguing. And I'm way more interested in her character. I did like the main character in Metal Slinger, but I think I'm going to like this one even more. I think this might be or have the potential to be my favorite Carissa Broadbent book already. I'm already so intrigued and I can't wait to read this after dinner. So yeah, bye. And I will update you guys when I finish this book. Y'all, I already finished The Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. I freaking devoured this book, you guys. I started it yesterday morning and I finished it already. This book sucked me in. It was just so good. I don't care what people say about this series. This series is so good. Carissa Broadbent just knows how to write. I wouldn't say like this is the best romantasy that I've read of all time, but this book was 5 stars for me. But not romantasy wise. But it was a 5-star read for me. I devoured this. I was hooked from beginning to end. I was not bored once. The action was so good in this. And it makes me want to re-listen to the first 2 books because I was going to do that. But y'all, my jaw was on the floor for this book. More so than Metal Slinger at the end. I was literally shocked. I was like, I literally screamed. I was like, what? It was so good. So 5 stars for the book because the writing and the story and the world building and the action and everything that took place in the underworld, I freaking devoured. And I loved the concept of this. It was just so good. And I kind of loved her unique concept on the take of the underworld. I don't know if anybody's done it this way before. But like I said before, I read The Games Gods Play and I read Phantasma, and I also read all of the Throne of the Fallen and the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy and everything. The Princess of Sin series. I started with the second book in the series in this video, which was Throne of Secrets. And that was honestly probably my biggest disappointment in this video. But y'all, the other 2 new releases in this vlog delivered. I loved Skyshade, and this is my favorite new release that I read in this video. This was just so freaking good. The only reason why it's not a 5-star for the romantasy, but it's a 5-star book for me, is because I feel like we just didn't get enough romance. There was only like 1 scene of smut like there was in Metal Slinger, but I felt like this was a lot more of a slow burn romance because I feel like this is setting up so much for the second book in this duet. But the way that she does it, she also was throwing back a lot to the Serpents of the Wings of Night and Ashes of the Starker's King. So I would highly suggest that you read those 2 books first. Yes, they're interconnected duologies, but I feel like you have to read the first two books first in order to understand what's going on in this book. So I would say you cannot go into this without reading the first two books. That's just my opinion. If you want to go in just to this one, that's your choice, but I would highly suggest that you start with the first two. Yes, they're interconnected. I cannot say that right now. Interconnected standalone duets, but there's so many throwbacks and callbacks to the first two books in the Crowns of Nexia series. I don't remember what that duet is called, because this one is called the Shadowborn duet. But I don't know when the second book is coming out, y'all. But now I'm like, if it was out, I would literally just go right into the second book. That's how excited I am for the second one. Like, this is probably the first fantasy book where I am going to be anxiously awaiting the next book. And also Skyshade too. I am anxiously awaiting that one, but I feel like even more so with this one. I just loved it. This literally, like I don't know if I said this, but this literally made me forget I was even reading. I felt like when I was picking up Metal Slinger, I was like, like again, but also like, even though this book was 10 pages longer, I literally devoured it. I mean, I also was able to listen to some of it. I think I listened to probably over 100 pages of it. But I still read probably 300 pages of it on my Kindle. And I devoured it. I literally just forgot I was even reading. Because the flow and the writing and the action and everything was just so freaking good. I loved it. Why am I screaming? It's literally like 1:30 in the morning. So the way that she did, like the breakup of the underworld, like basically like the levels of the underworld, because I feel like mostly every book have those kinds of, I mean, not just in every book, but in every version that is written about the underworld or hell or whatever, it always has like some different like Dante's Inferno has Purgatory, Inferno, and Paradiso, and those are like the three realms of hell and heaven. But like in the games Gods Play, there was like 7 different trials. The same thing with Phantasma. But like Phantasma was following the 7 deadly sins, but also there was like 2 other ones that they decided to, that Kaylee Smith decided to do. So there was 5 that we already knew of the 7 deadly sins, and then she did 2 other ones, which was very unique as well. But with this, the way that the underworld levels are broken up is that the first one is life, the second one is body, the third one is breath, the fourth one is psyche, the fifth one is secrets, the sixth one is soul, and the 7th one is death. And it was just like different levels of testing their sanity, and even though they didn't go like completely mad, it was more like testing like their fear and deciding like what was real or not. And it was just so freaking good. I really, really loved this. So I just think she's such a fantastic author, and I think this series is so worth the hype. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's just such a well-written series. It's such a fun world, and I just have so much fun reading her books. So I really, really liked it. So now I'm going to return that to Kindle Unlimited because I already finished it. And now the next book that I'm going to be starting, by the way, just don't believe any time I say, oh, I'm going to start this book next, because I'm clearly full of shit, because I ended up starting a different book. Even though I said I was going to start Bloodguard, I just decided to start this book instead. And let me pull it up, because I'm like, I should read this book before Thanksgiving, because this book is the longest book I'm going to read in this video, and that is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. So I decided to start this over, I mean, I technically had already started this like a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't really understand what was going on, so I restarted it, and I just actually returned another Audible credit and I just redeemed it for this one. I didn't realize that you could do that with Audible credits. Like, you can return as many as you... Well, I don't know if you can only return up to one at a time, because I haven't returned more than one at a time. But I saw on Larry Reed's channel that she highly recommended the audiobook of this. So I wanted to get it so I could listen to it at the same time as reading it. And so far, the audiobook is really good because it has the male and female voice for each of their like dialogue. So like it's from the female's perspective, but when like her father speaks, it's in a male voice. So I really do appreciate that. Sorry, I have an itch. My feet are always constantly itching me. It's the glorious, glorious time of eczema. So, but I don't know if I'm going to read any more tonight because, like I said, I did finish that book already. I didn't think I was going to finish it so freaking quickly. I finished it in less than 2 days. But that book, like, got me excited to read again because, like I said, Metal Slinger wasn't that great, but at least Metal Slinger was pretty fast paced. So I'm only on page 25 of Quicksilver so far because, like I said, I just listened to like the first chapter and a half. But I think I'm going to mostly listen to this tomorrow and also I'm going to try and get halfway through it. But I wanted to give myself at least 3 days to read this book because it's 670 pages. So it's pretty long. And I was like, let me read it before Thanksgiving so then I can just read The Dagger and the Flame and Bloodguard and be finished with those before Thanksgiving. So then I can just read like a light-hearted book after I finish all these Romantasy reads. And then I don't have to be as stressed about finishing books when my sister's here. Because I'm going to be spending like the next 3 days after that. After Monday, I'm going to be spending with my family because I actually found out I'm working on Monday. So, and my sister's coming later in the day on Tuesday. So I'm mostly just going to be reading before she gets here. And then I'm going to try to get through a significant amount of Dagger and the Flame before she gets here. But Dagger and the Flame is probably going to be the last book that I read in this video. So I might just jump right into Bloodguard after Quicksilver or The Dagger and the Flame. Maybe I'll just be reading Bloodguard before she gets here, and that'll be easier to finish because I'll just read it on my Kindle. And then I should be finished with all the Romantasy reads by Wednesday, which I cannot believe. Because I just started reading them on Monday, and I'll finish 5 Romantasy books in a week and a half, which is very, very fast for me. And also my Goodreads says I'm 1 book ahead of schedule for my goal. Probably because I finished Songbird in the Heart of Stone so freaking fast. So now I'm up to 160 books and I made my goal for 180, which I probably should have made it for 185. But like once this month is over, I should read 5 more books. So that would be 165, and then that would be exactly 15 books for December, which is usually what I read, is like 15 to 16 books a month. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go because I'm going to shut up. But honestly, that was definitely my favorite book that I've read so far on this video, and I'm so happy that I finally found a book that I'm literally obsessed with because I loved it. So yeah, that's it. Bye! Yo, I just finished Quicksilver. I cannot believe I finished it already. I finished it in 2 days. I just could not put it down. I cannot believe that I finished it in 2 days. And this was like the longest book that I had to read this month. And also the longest book I had to read in this video. And I literally finished it already. I got through 50% yesterday. And then I just finished it today. And this was the 5-star Romantasy that I was looking for. I did not know what I was going to rate this book, but I'm like, because like from the middle to like 75%, I was like, I'm still not sure if it's going to be a 5-star. And then the ending, what? The twist with the main character? I was like, okay. Like at first I was like kind of comparing it to ACOTAR, and I know I shouldn't because not every Fae Romantasy is going to be like ACOTAR, and there are plenty of Fae Romantasy books out there and Fae fantasy books that are in ACOTAR, and ACOTAR is not the first Fae Romantasy. But damn, this was probably, I don't know, my favorite Romantasy besides Phantasma so far, and The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. But I think because I'm so speechless right now that I have to give this a 5-star. Like, again, I wasn't sure if I got that feeling until the last like 10%. And then I was like, what? But also, like, I don't want to say that just the ending made it a 5-star. The whole book was so well written from beginning to end. And that's what made it a 5-star. Like everything was so intriguing about this book. Everything kept me interested. There was always like little, what I really like about great, not just romantasy books, but fantasy books as well, is that they kind of like drop little crumbs throughout the book that you need to figure out, or the character, you're like figuring it out along with the character. And that's what I really like, even about thrillers too. But I like how it's done in fantasies even more, because it's like they'll mention like one thing, like a prophecy, or like something that you need to figure out later. And then like what I really, when well written characters are written, I mean, when characters are written well, then that's when the reader feels like they are figuring it out with the character. And that's what I love. I really did fall in love with the characters in this book. And I had just watched another YouTuber finish this book, and she gave it a 3.75, I think it was, but she's like a huge Brandon Sanderson reader, so like you're comparing it to Brandon Sanderson, but for me and Romantasy, like the genre of Romantasy, this is a 5-star, because this didn't take like forever to get to the romance. Basically, they kissed like maybe 200 pages or so in, and then the Romantasy was, there was like at least like 2 to 3 full chapters of it. But like it didn't distract from the plot. It was just like adding to the experience of this book. And it was just, from beginning to end, I was so invested. And I think that this is an incredible debut novel. To give a 5-star to a debut novel, and I'm so happy I finally read this. I feel like a huge task has been scratched off my TBR this year, because I've been wanting to get to this book for so long. That's why I'm so happy I did this video, so it would make, not just make me, but motivate me to read the Romantasy books and the big books. Like this one is so popular this year. Like I would say that this is this year's fourth wing on TikTok, because I know that everybody says that When the Moon Hatched is this year's fourth wing, but I hated the narrator of that book. Like I just could not stand her voice. But with this was so, this audiobook, Chef's kiss. If you don't want to read this because it intimidates you by how long it is, but by the way, it's so fast paced that like you don't even feel like you're reading a 600-page book. And I was like, it's going to take me forever to finish this. And I thought it was going to take me 3 days to finish, but no, I crushed it in 2 days. I was like, what? Because like when I was actually reading it, I was flying through it. Um, I would say I probably listened to half of it and read half of it. So that's probably why I flew through it. So, um, I might have listened to more, but the audiobook was so good, you guys, because it was narrated by Cyrus, which is the female main character. I know I'm not giving you much about like what these books were about, but I'm going to go into more in depth of what these books were about in my monthly wrap up. I usually just give you like my ratings and my reaction in these vlogs, not so much what they're actually about. I probably should have read the synopsises of each one though, but I like ramble for forever, so and basically you can look up the synopsis on your own. But this ending I did not see coming. I'm like, oh, like they're just gonna be immortal forever. No. Totally different than what I thought. I'm like, that is so unique. I feel like it was a very unique take on fae fantasy, not just romantasy, but also fae fantasy as well. But the audiobook of this is so good is because it's narrated by the female voice, but also any dialogue that is spoken and if a male is speaking was narrated by a male. Like just because it was a female perspective, POV during the whole book, didn't take away from how good the audiobook was because anytime Kingfisher spoke, and by the way, Kingfisher, oh my god, I love him. I haven't been this obsessed with a character since Blackwell and Phantasma, and like I said, that was my last 5-star romantasy. Oh my god, loved him so much. And the banter in this book and the humor, it was just, and like I said, the cast of characters in this were so good. And you really just, even like the side characters, and that's what I wanted to say about the last person that read this. She said that even the side characters in this book, you fall in love with them, and you really do. And I haven't even felt like that since ACOTAR, to be honest, about a romantasy. Like, Phantasma's really concentrating on, like, the two main characters. But I love the two main characters of that book. That's why I loved that book so much, that it didn't really matter about the side characters. But this, the audiobook is so worth the listen. Trust me, the audiobook is so freaking good. Such a good book. 5 stars. This is definitely my favorite romantasy of the entire video. I think my favorite book of the video, though, still is Songbird and the Heart of Stone. But this is my favorite romantasy. So this would have to be number one as far as the romantasy goes. But this is definitely like tied with the Songbird and the Heart of Stone. For sure. This book was so freaking good. This book is so worth the hype. Do yourself a favor. If you've been wanting to read this book for a while, read it. Trust me, it was so good. So yeah, I am going to stop reading now though. It's like 3:15 in the morning. I stayed up until 3 a.m. to finish this. I was like, I kind of just really want to know what the fuck happens, and I didn't want to wait until tomorrow afternoon to finish it. So tomorrow, I am going to be starting the only physical book that I have besides Skyshade, which is The Dagger in the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I am going to hopefully finish this before my sister gets here on Tuesday. So hopefully I'll finish this Tuesday afternoon. No, Monday afternoon. Because I'm starting it Saturday. I should finish this by Monday. So we'll see how long it takes me to read. Because I do have plans this weekend. Like, I'm going to see Wicked tomorrow. But I will be home by like 4 o'clock, the latest. And then I'm just going to read for the rest of the day. And then Sunday I have a Friendsgiving thing. But that's not until like 5 o'clock. So I should be able to get at least 300 to 400 pages into this book. And then again, in worst comes to worst, then I'll just finish it on Monday afternoon, which is still great. I'll still be able to finish one more book. And then we'll go into Bloodguard, and that will be the last book in this video. So I'm going to go. Goodbye. Okay, so hey there guys, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I just finished The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I cannot believe how fast I'm crushing these books, to be honest. I mean, granted, I have been tandem listening to the audiobook along with reading this. I probably only read maybe 200 pages or so of this physically, but it's still 200 pages, okay? And then I listened to a lot of it. I did read probably 100 pages today. I read 100 pages today physically, and then yesterday I believe I read 100 pages. I just didn't really feel like physically reading a book, even though I wanted to go into one of the physical books that I own. The audiobook was just so good of this. Really, really good. I really liked the voices of it, and this was great. This was really, really good. Especially for the first book in a YA fantasy, this was great. This was so much better written than Metal Slinger, even though I kind of liked the action more in Metal Slinger. Well, actually, you know what? This was just better. This was just better. Like, there was a little bit more, but this was a YA romance. So there's not going to be, Romantasy, I mean. So there's not going to be, full-fledged, smut scenes. But this was just so entertaining, really fast-paced, and you really grew to really love the two main characters, and I really, really loved both of the main characters a lot. So I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. That's still a very high rating. It just didn't give me a 5-star feeling, but this is such a great start to this series, and I'm very, very excited to continue it and see where it goes. Even though I didn't enjoy Metal Slinger that much, and I loved Quicksilver, and I loved Sky Shade and Songbird and the Heart of Stone, I'm still going to be continuing all of these series, and including this one. This is also a first book in a series. But like I said, this book only came out in October, I believe, or was it November? But this one did come out pretty recently. And then I'm going to be reading Bloodguard as the last one. But this was really good, you guys. For a YA romantasy, I don't have as high hopes as I do for regular romantasy, just because I think that sometimes the writing can be a little bit juvenile in a YA romantasy. But this was fantastic writing. I just really enjoyed it. I think that she's a great author. I haven't read anything from Catherine Doyle before, and I really enjoyed it. And also, I hadn't read anything from Rachel Schneider before or Kelly Hart, but I really loved Quicksilver a lot. But anyway, this really took the enemies to lovers trope really, really seriously, and they go from enemies to lovers to enemies enemies-lovers again, pretty much. And now they are pretty much enemies, the way that the book ends. And it was just great. I am just so pleased that I really enjoyed this. I mean, I was hooked from the first 2 chapters. From the prologue, I was so intrigued because a death already happens in the prologue, pretty much. It kind of reminded me of the opening of The Cruel Prince, where I was literally just hooked because somebody dies literally in the beginning, or somebody gets murdered. And honestly, it just gripped me from beginning to end. Basically, it's about 2 rival gangs called the Daggers and the Flame, the Cloaks and the Daggers. So it kind of reminded me of a West Side Story kind of romantasy, but make it paranormal. That's how best I can describe this. I'm going to go into what the books were more about, like I said, in my reading wrap-up. But I am going to rank all these books at the end. I just don't know why. I don't know what else to say. it is pretty late right now. It's like 1:50 in the morning. I really need to get into bed because I'm very tired. And I think I'm just going to watch YouTube now because I finished this way earlier than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to be sitting in bed reading this, but I only, like I said, I read 60 pages before I went out today because I actually had a Friendsgiving to go to, and it was actually really, really nice. But I did listen to the audiobook the entire time I was getting ready. I did watch 2 YouTube videos while I was like showering and stuff because I don't like listening to audiobooks when I'm washing my hair because obviously I can't wear my earbuds when I'm in the shower when I'm washing my hair. So I usually just put a YouTube video on so I can catch up on that. And then I listened to this while I was doing my makeup and also in the car back and forth from his house. And I got through another 100 pages just doing that and then listening to 2 chapters when I got home. So yeah, just really fast paced. And then I finished the last 38 pages like physically. So I'm pretty sure I read another 100 pages today. But also this book was free from Book of the Month for me because the more books of the month you get, the more books that you get for free. Like usually your book of the month is free and just you have to pay for the add-on. So it wasn't really as big of a deal for me to read this fully physically, but also I wanted to read it physically, but then I had listened to a lot of it. But anyway, this was great. I'm going to stop blabbering because I'm not really saying anything. So the last book in this video will be Bloodguard. I'm not going to read it immediately after this. I kind of need 1 or 2 books in between. I'm still going to finish off. I'm probably going to finish off the month with Bloodguard, or I might just read it right after the thriller I binge tomorrow. That's going to be in a whole nother mood reading vlog. I just started that and I'm going to read that tomorrow because I just need something different right now because I just don't want to get burnt out reading all these Romantasys and then feel like I don't want to read. So I'm like, let me switch up the genre at least because I did read 4 Romantasys in a row. I'm like, I need something a little bit different. If it was like a Romantasy series that I was binging, I wouldn't care because like I would want to be like fully immersed in that world. But I feel like I'm getting a little bit of burnout right now from all the Romantasy books. So I'm like, let me just read this thriller. It's going to be super fast paced and then we'll jump into the Bloodguard as the last book in this video. So I will check in with you guys when I finish it. So bye. Okay, so hey there guys. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I did finish the last book that I needed to finish in this video, and I finished it on the very last day of November. So I still got it done. This book took me like 5 days, like 4.5 days to finish because it was Thanksgiving. So I knew it was going to take me a bit longer, but I did end up finishing it. I already returned it to Kindle Unlimited. I was going to bring up the cover, but I finished Bloodguard by C.C. Robson, and I actually really, really enjoyed this book. There were some moments that were a little bit cringe, but there was also some 5-star moments in this book that literally my jaw was on the floor. And I just felt like it was a bit messy, but overall, I really enjoyed it. Like, I didn't think it was bad. I just thought it was a fun, entertaining time. It got a little bit gory, but overall, I still really liked it. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think a 4 stars is enough. I don't really feel like I need to give it anything higher than that. I think a 4 stars is fine. But yeah, like the characters were going through the gigs in this book, and it was just really good. So I'll give you guys a brief synopsis as I rank each book. But now, since I've read all 8 Romantasys that I needed to read, I'm like, where the hell is my phone? I'm like, I still need my phone for this. I don't even know why I'm holding my Kindle because I don't need it when I already returned it. But anyway, let me see what my ranking is. So, since I just finished Bloodguard, I think I'm going to put it here. But I do think out of all the books, I actually think Quicksilver and Bloodguard were the best balance romantasy-wise, but Bloodguard was not as good of a book as the other books that I ranked. So I feel like this is kind of a little bit harder to rank because it's like with Romantasy, there's so many elements. Like, it has to have a good story, it has to have to good like magic system, it has to have a good romance, it has to have like, good smut scenes. It also like can be slow burn, but also you need like a reason to be slow burn. But like after reading 8 Romantasys this month, I think that's the most. I just put 78. No, 8 Romantasys, Caitlin. I think that's the most I've read of one genre in 1 month in like a long time. Um, but actually, like, Bloodguard was very easy to digest. Like, I thought I was gonna be like confused, like getting into a new magic system or anything like that. But honestly, this book was so easy to understand because honestly, it didn't really have much of a magic system because it was more about like gladiators and elves and wizards and dragons and all of that. So it was kind of fun. So I had a good time. So let me go ahead and say my ranking real quick. So number 8 had to be Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. I just didn't really feel anything towards this book too much. I only gave it a 3-star. I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars because I might have to listen to this on audiobook at some point because I don't think I was able to consume this story fully because I was reading it upstate to upstate New York when I went with my friends that weekend, like during election weekend, so we could like get away from the world. And sorry, I am sick, but it is what it is. I don't really care if you like don't like how I sound. I'm sick, like I can't do anything about it. So this book was basically about a vampire and I guess a human. I think I'm just gonna pull up the synopsises real quick. I think I did. I thought I read the synopsis of this book earlier, but I'll just reread it really quick. I'm just gonna read the synopsises so you guys can get like a better feel because I'm like explain things like so stupidly sometimes because like words and also like sometimes I forget what it's about. So it says 6 roses, 6 vials of blood, 6 visits to a vampire who could be her salvation or her damnation. Lilith has been dying since the day she was born, but while she long ago came to terms with her own intimate death, the deaths of everyone she loves is an entirely different matter. So basically, she's destined to die, but she wants to save like her family and her friends and everybody she cares about. So basically, she needs to offer this vampire 6 scorched roses, which is 6 vials of vampire blood, which is the one hope for her town's salvation. So that's basically what it's about. And that was it. I didn't really feel anything towards it. It had a good balance of romance and fantasy, though, for being such a short novella. But, it's a novella, so I'm going to end up liking these books a lot more than, like, just a short novella. Okay, so number 7 was Throne of Secrets. I gave that a 3.75 out of 5 stars. Basically, it's about a mortal falling in love with Prince Gluttony, and this is the second book in the Princes of Sin series by Carrie Maniscalco. And honestly, I think I said this before, this book was so beyond disappointing. This was probably my most anticipated read of the year besides Reckless, because I was so excited for Reckless as well, and I was so disappointed by that book too, because Powerless and Throne of the Fallen, which are both the first books in these series, I gave them both 5 stars, because Throne of the Fallen is a 6-star read for me, so I was so excited for this book, and I was like, this was such a letdown. So, the female's name, why can't I remember her name? Adriana and Prince Gluttony. And basically, it's about, like, her going to his court. And there's, like, a competition going on to win Prince Gluttony's hand in marriage. And basically, he needs to marry. But honestly, I felt like I was just reading a bad retelling of Cinderella with smut. That's, like, basically what this book was about. Like, I feel like there was a severe lack in world building in this book, and also it was like almost too much smut, and I know that these books are supposed to be pretty smutty, but like I've said before, the Throne of the Fallen book, there was such a beautiful balance of the fantasy and romance in it that this book just like fell short for me. So, okay, so number 6 was Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. Again, very disappointed by this book, but I did find this book to be more entertaining than Throne of Secrets, but I was also expecting more from this book because people hyped it up so much, and I honestly felt like I was reading a combination of Powerless and Throne of Glass mixed together, but not as well written. I mean, the writing was okay, but those books are just, and Throne of Glass, hello, like Sarah J. Maas is the GOAT, pretty much. I love her so much. But basically, Brynn has spent her life on a ship with the king, which happens to be Kai, which is the same name in Powerless. And basically, it says Brynn has spent the better part of her life waiting for the chance to attend the annual market hosted by the Kenta, the very same people who exiled the Ahala, to live a life over the sea, a rite of passage for all young guards. She's not sure what to expect from it, but breaking a century-long peace treaty certainly isn't on her map. Neither is the encounter with an enemy soldier. Returning home to Ahala, she's confronted with the aftermath of the day's events. The future is uncertain as the threat of hunger looms over the people. With rumors of a growing rebellion, Brynn and her closest friends promise to stick together. When an unexpected visitor arrives, Brynn's loyalty will be tested as she learns the world of magic and treachery. So she needs to learn, like, how to control her powers, but, like, she didn't really go into, like, the way that she controlled her powers. I don't know, just, like, a lot of the stuff fell short for me in the book, but it was fast-paced and it was entertaining. But honestly, like I said, since this book was so hyped up, I was expecting so much more from this. And there was, like, a jaw-dropping moment at the end, but, like, the very ending, it didn't really, like, make me, like, oh my god, that's, like, the best ending ever. Like, nothing tops the Fourth Wing cliffhanger for me. I think that's one of the best endings I've ever read in my life. And that one, my jaw was on the floor. So, it was okay, but I think Bloodguard was better. So, number 5 is Bloodguard. And like I said, I feel like this book probably could have been a bit shorter, like maybe like 450 pages. I mean, it basically is 448 pages. So actually, probably just felt long because I read it on Kindle, honestly. Because the Kindle edition is over 500 pages. So I felt like it just took me so long to get through this book. But I was so entertained. It was, like, really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, like I just said. It's about a gladiator named Leith, and the love interest is named Maeve, and she is an elf. And basically Leith has to fight to the death pretty much all the time from, like, dragons and wizards and all of that. And basically he spent his life in the arena because he is fighting to get a better life for his family. But then something so terrible happens to him that he has not discovered about his family. And it's, like, so upsetting. But it's, like, it was just, like, so well done, like, some of those parts. But then there were some parts that were, like, a little bit cringy, like, with the smut and stuff. So it wasn't as well written as, like, Quicksilver was, but it was still very entertaining. And I had a really good time reading this. And Maeve is, like, betrothed to this asshole named Sorrow. So it prevents them from really being together. But he, like, basically has to fight, like, every day of his life. So it was really good, though. I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then number 4 has to be The Dagger and the Flame. This book was so freaking good. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is just so good for a YA romantasy. And I love how they went to enemies to kind of just lustful lovers, because, like, I wouldn't really say lovers because I feel like they probably knew that they never were going to be able to truly, like, fully love each other because they knew that they truly could never be together, and then they went to enemies again. And I feel like this is one of the best, like, enemies to lovers and then stay enemies, like, telling since Cruel Prince. And if you guys are looking for a YA romantasy that does that, this is your book. It was just so well written. I really enjoyed the writing of this. I'm so excited to see where this goes. I described this in my review as West Side Story, but add ghosts and basically make it in hell, because it's about the Daggers and the Cloaks, and they are rival gangs that basically just want to kill one another, and they're thieves and assassins. And the main female character, why can't I remember what her name is? It says perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Leigh Bardugo, and Stephanie Garber, and I would 100% agree with that. I feel like it felt kind of like it's gonna grow like Throne of Glass. So I'm really, really excited to see where this series goes. I'm so excited to read the second book. It says, on the night of her mother's murder, 17-year-old Seraphine runs for her life. Seeking sanctuary with the Cloaks, Sarah's heart is set on revenge. But are her secret abilities a match for the dark-haired boy whose quicksilver eyes follow her around the city? Nothing can prepare Sarah for the moment she finally comes face to face with Ransom, heir to the Order of Daggers, and Ransom is shocked to discover that this unassuming farm girl wields a strange and blazing magic he has never seen before. Among rumors of monsters stalking the streets and underworld, Sarah and Ransom are drawn together by something more than just magic and must face a deadly choice. Forgiveness or vengeance, kiss or kill, dagger or flame. It was just so good. I was entertained with this book from beginning to end. I freaking loved it. It was just so good. I just felt like it took a little bit too long to get to the romance, but at the same time, it didn't make sense because they were enemies most of the book. Like, it's not going to happen right away. And it was just so well written. It was really good. Okay, then number 3 had to be Skyshade by Alex Astor. I don't know why I can never remember what these books are about, but I always just have such a good time reading them. So, 3 and 2 were both continuations of series that I read earlier this year. So Skyshade, I just really liked it. It was so fast-paced, so much fun to read. It only took me 2 days to read this book. And this one says, Love kills kingdoms. Back in Grimm's castle on Nightshade, Isla is reeling in the wake of the brutal battle, and the devastating truths is exposed. Her future and the fate of the world now hinge on a heart split in two. Past Isla, who fell in love with the ruler of Nightshade, fights to resist feelings she considers treasonous. The Isla of the present, who has seen the ruin her powers can cause, will do anything to save Lightlark and its king. As the line between enemy and friend is tested, Isla is more desperate than ever to understand the Oracle's final prophecy and change her heart and ending fate. But a storm is coming, and with it a long-buried evil greater than anything that the realms have faced before. With the clock ticking on her destiny and the survival of two warring kingdoms hinging on her own shattered heart, Isla will either save the world or destroy it. So, like, basically she's prophesied to either end everything or save everything. And basically at the end of this book, it's not really a spoiler, we don't get an answer yet. So I am so excited to read the next book. Nothing has been announced yet, but everyone is like, originally it was supposed to be a duology, and then it turned into a trilogy, and now everybody thinks there's going to be a fourth book because it's like there's no closure after reading this book. But it was just so good, so entertaining, and I love it. I don't care what people say. It's just such a fun read. And then number 2 and number 1 are both my 5 stars in this video. And number 2 is Songbird in the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent. You guys, I freaking loved this book. Her storytelling just, like, I think evolved even more than Carrie Maniscalco's writing. It's just, like, the flow, the story, so good. The story of this book was 5 stars for me. That's why this book is so high. But it was a little bit hard to rank this because the romantasy was lacking a little bit. But then, like, the last, 100 pages just, bumped it up to 5 stars for me. And the cliffhanger of this book was so good. And now I cannot wait for the second one. It was just so well written. She just knows how to write romantasy. And it was just so fast-paced. I devoured this book so quickly, And I just freaking loved it. I was so happy to be back in this world again because I always know I can count on Carissa Broadbent to write a good fucking book. So this one basically takes place in hell. And the way that she describes the levels of hell is just like so unique. They have to go through like I think I said this before earlier in the video, so I'm not going to describe it again, but I just found that so fascinating. And basically, Asar is a necromancer and Mish is a recently turned vampire, but turned vampires are so looked down upon because they're not, pure blood vampires. Kind of like if you look at like pure blood wizards in Harry Potter compared to like half-bloods and muggle borns, they like look down upon them. But this was just so good. I loved it. It says, A Court of Thorns and Roses meets Dante's Inferno. I freaking love that. I would say that exactly. Like I said, it reminded me of like describing the levels of hell like Dante's Inferno. Like, that's so good. It says, in an epic fantasy romance of love and treachery between mortals and gods, features beautiful case art, blah, blah, blah. In a descent to the underworld, a bride of the sun must choose between the light of her redemption or a dark love that defies the gods themselves. Mish lost everything when she was forcibly turned into a vampire, so she was forced into turning into a vampire. Her home, her humanity, and most devastating of all, the love of the sun god to whom she had devoted her life. Now sentenced to death for murdering the vampire prince who turned her, redemption feels impossible. But when Mish is saved by Asar, the bastard prince of the House of Shadow with a past as brutal as his scars, she's forced into a mission worse than execution, a journey into the underworld to resurrect the god of death himself. It was so good. I loved it. I'm not reading that whole synopsis. It's way too long. But I actually watched... What's her name? I believe Cassidy Shivers. I think that's her name. She rated this book, I think, a 3.5 or like somewhere around the 3-star mark because she said that the romance felt a little short and also felt a little stale to her. And I 100% agree with that. But she said, I feel like so many people are going to give this 5 stars because of the way she writes and the way she tells this story. That's why I gave it a 5 stars. I'm like, this is a 5-star story for me, so it's a 5-star read. And I know I was a little bit torn, but then I was like, wait, I could not stop thinking about this book after I read it. So I was like, 5 stars. Okay, and the number 1, of course, are we surprised, is Quicksilver by Kelly Hart. I devoured this book. I am in love with Kingfisher. I also love the female main character. I believe her name is Sora or Sorsha or something like that. I need to look it up again. But this book is so worth the hype, you guys. This is the best romantasy I've read since Throne of the Fallen. It was just so good. And she literally describes this book as meet your new romantasy obsession since ACOTAR. I 1,000% agree with that. I have not fallen in love with characters this much since ACOTAR. I mean, I love Prince Envy and Camilla. Don't get me wrong. They like live in my heart and soul too. But Kingfisher, Shadow Daddy, like he is amazing. And I actually inspired another YouTuber that I watch to read this book after she binged the series that she read. Her name is Monica Fortner. I saw on her stories today that she's reading it, so I messaged her and I'm like, you're reading it. And she's like, I have to thank you for that. You inspired me to read it. And I was like, that's so sweet. I was like, girl, like it's so good. You have no idea. So, the female main character's name is Cyrus, which I love. And basically this book is just nuts. And I loved it so much. Like Cyrus is basically like super magical. She's very powerful. And Kingfisher is basically the Fae King. Oh my god. And basically she has to go help Kingfisher, like save the Fae realm. But she doesn't want to go with him because he's like forcing her to go with him. And I can't really say anything else about this book because it's like literally a spoiler. Hold on. Oh my god, my nose. Y'all just need to read this book, okay? It's hyped up for a reason, and I feel like it's getting so hyped right now in November, and I feel like everybody is reading it right now. And if you're looking, like I said, for your next favorite romantasy book, read this. And if you're intimidated by the length, get the audiobook. The audiobook was fan fucking tastic. And I got it because Larry Reed's recommended it on YouTube because she was like, I wasn't really feeling it reading it, so I downloaded the audiobook and she's like, read this. She was like, and then she gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. She was like, I loved the audiobook so much. So I got the audiobook because of her, and I was like, this audiobook is phenomenal because, like I said, every line spoken from a male is a male voice, and every line spoken from a female is a female voice. Even though it's only from her perspective, you get so much of Kingfisher in this book. Like, it was a little bit better than, because I don't think this book was dual POV. No, it was only from Cyrus's perspective. And then same thing in The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. It was only from Misha's perspective, but I kind of wanted a bit of Asar's perspective in A Songbird of the Heart of Stone. Songbird and the Heart of Stone, I mean. But oh my God, like, the ending was just from Asar's perspective, the epilogue, jaw on the floor. And I was like, where is my Shadow Daddy's voice? Because he does the voice in Serpents and the Wings of Night and also Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And I just got my physical copies of those. I don't do that when I read stuff on Kindle Unlimited that often. But I'm like, I need to own this series because this series is so fucking good. Because it's so consistent, okay? If you need a good book to read or a good series to start, read Serpents and the Wings of Night. You're not going to be disappointed. They are really good for a reason. They're hyped for a reason. They're great books. But this book was amazing. And this was honestly the best romantasy book in this video. But also, the writing was so good. And the banter, everything, the romance, the smut, the fantasy, the action, the world building, everything was perfect. And I just freaking loved it. It didn't take too long for them to kiss. It didn't take too long for them to get to the smut. There wasn't too much smut. And the story was just fantastic. Like, the ending of this, one of the most unique twists I've ever read. And I'm like, I feel like everything's been done at this point. And I was like, I did not see that coming. I was like, what? What? It's like kind of similar to Sky Shade. So, but this is perfection. This is what romantasy needs to be, okay? And I feel like she's kind of redefining the game right now. But then Onyx Storm is going to come out in January. Why am I saying November? It's literally December 1st right now. Can you believe it's December? And that's literally going to be my new obsession. I don't know if I'm going to read any more romantasy until that comes out. I mean, I'm going to read Belladonna, which I believe is gothic romantasy. Or maybe it's just gothic fantasy. But anyway, I need to shut up because this video is way too long. Just read this book. I'm not going to tell you guys anything else about it because you need to experience it for yourselves. But like basically she has to make a pact with Kingfisher to save the Fae realm. So that's basically what it's about. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So yeah, loved it. Obsessed. And yeah, I had a really good time with all these books in this video. Like, I really wasn't bored by any of these. They were all pretty enjoyable. The only one that I was actually really bored from was Throne of Secrets. Again, so disappointing, but that was also the first. It was so funny that I started the month with Throne of Secrets and then I ended the month with Bloodguard. So I've literally been reading all of these for a full month. So you're welcome. So yeah, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. Let me know if you're reading any of these books, and I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye. Keep reading. Bye.